Fred. Mark. Right. I don't know if anyone is back yet, but I'm gonna start. And I see there's a chat happening. Thank you, Estelle. You're so kind. That's how you introduced me, my friend. Good. Okay, at least there's still a couple of people here. We're mindful of time. We've been doing incredibly well with time, and we don't want to lose that. So I just thought for 30 minutes I can share about my own views. By the way, I didn't have a speaker slot today. I just want to remove the chat from my face because it's just too much on my face. Awesome. Right. Can everybody see my screen? Sharp. So I didn't have a speaker slot, but a couple of you have asked me to share a little bit about creativity in my own context and why I think it's important and why we should be here celebrating creativity and why we have made this conference happen. And I thought, let me just take a few minutes over the lunchtime period. You can watch this while you are having your salad or your meal. And I can just take you through my thoughts around COVID-19, why I think it's a driver of creativity and innovation, and we should take advantage of this situation to reframe, reimagine, redefine, and do life very differently beyond COVID-19. And I'm also just going to give you tips of what to look for as you listen into different speakers beyond this. And you asked me why creativity? Why am I passionate about creativity? Why am I living for the purpose of driving creativity in the world? It's because, as many speakers have alluded before, creativity has changed our lives in a real and deep way. So for one, I didn't know about creativity as a science. I didn't know about deliberate creativity until a couple of years back when I did my MBA and I encountered it as a subject within a business school. And I went quite deep to understand what is creativity, why is it important, and why is it a science, and what is the difference between creativity as we know it and deliberate creativity. And then I'm gonna most importantly position why I think COVID-19, which is the situation we are in right now as the world, is a wonderful driver of creativity. And I appreciate that today is the World Creativity and Innovation Day, and we're celebrating creativity, and we're also going deeper into what creativity is about. Now, I want to acknowledge And I want us all to acknowledge, first and foremost, that the current pandemic of COVID-19 is not a new thing. It's not, it is a crisis, but it's not as bad as the pandemics that we have overcome as humanity before. If you look at this, in fact, there's a whole website that speaks about various pandemics that we have overcome as the human race. Some of those pandemics killed 200 million people at once, plagues that killed hundreds of millions of people. Smallpox in 1520 killed 56 million people. Humanity still came back and we're still here. Spanish flu came, yellow fever came, killed about 100 to 150,000 people. All of these plagues and diseases and pandemics have always been there. Yeah, so far COVID-19 has killed, yes, a lot of people, but I just want to allay our fears that we as the human race, I believe we are powerful. We have the power in us to overcome any pandemic that comes our way. We cannot be given more than what we can bear. And I will show you the sense of creativity that I have applied in designing of this short presentation for you. So I drew from the school of thinking of integrative thinking, yeah, which is huge in the creativity space because it's about one person has a thought or an option or an idea A, and a different person, as I have said earlier today, and said I like antibodies, has a different thought and an idea and an option, and both of them are going through different directions. Yeah, they see differently, they think differently, they have this totally opposing truths. One truth totally opposes the next person's truth. Yeah. Now think about a situation where instead of these two arguing and saying either I'll go with option A or having to choose between the two options that might be truthful in their own context, but they are opposing each other. You create a new option. Yeah, this forces you to create a new option that says yes and that option sits between these two opposing truths. You put them together and you create a new truth. Yeah. So we are living in a world of paradox. COVID-19 is creating a lot of paradox right now at lunch as you went to the kitchen to grab something and then you had a stream of WhatsApp messages. Some of them were very positive around how, what a time to think, to stop, to imagine, to draw within, and other WhatsApp messages are probably saying so many people dead, this is dangerous, lockdown is going to extend, and we're constantly sitting in this world of information that has varied options and paradoxes. Now, integrative thinking causes you to find a truth somewhere in there that satisfies both options and both truths. Now, I started to think about right now in this COVID-19 situation, a lot of us are sitting with an interesting paradox. In fact, yesterday I was interviewed around my views of education and technology and the disparities that exist between the haves and the have-nots. And this is the truth that we sit in, some of us. I said, this is certainly my truth every day. Even right now, my family wishes they could have a lunch with me, and I have been in front of a computer 5 to 8 every day, teaching, speaking, organizing. The conference took 36 hours, not even 24 hours. I slept at 2 a.m. I was up at 6 a.m. It's crazy. And we have these kids in our homes. We have partners, we have wives and husbands, and you have to face the reality of the pressure to provide for them economically, but at the same time, share love, share creativity with them. I can't just be sharing the love and the creativity on the computer. I have to also express and create a home environment that's healthy. And the paradox is that it's hard, it's impossible. It's this extreme digital connectedness and living constantly in the room that I'm in. I have 5 different devices. I have 3 computers, a screen, an iPad, a phone. I'm constantly connected to the world of work in my own home, where home is supposed to bring love, comfort, and all of those good things. My kids are seeing someone who is totally an alien in the home and lives in the digital world and is not necessarily connected to them. It's a paradox, right? And we have a big part of the society, the population. This is our reality in Africa. Millions and millions of people who don't have access to data, to good equipment, to good technology, and they sit at home within this COVID-19 situation. They don't have the access. Some of them would have loved to be a part of this creative unconference, being a part of this creative Imbizo, but they can't even afford the data to access this, or they don't have the infrastructure, or they don't have the equipment. It's a reality. So for some of us, this is creating a real void. Like there's a gap that is not being that is being created in their professional work, even just with students. So I was being interviewed, like I said, about education, and I said the expectation now is suddenly that parents have access to technology, and guess what? Millions of parents in our continent don't have extra gadgets for their kids to log on and access online education. This is the reality. So we are sitting in a situation where we see people who are accessing opportunities, doing stuff. I have been exposed to so much, and I'll share a story of how we have created opportunities. But at the same time, there's a population that's totally being separated from this new emerging economy. So I ask, we're sitting in a situation that where we have to find a solution that sits somewhere in between that ability to satisfy and drive and find opportunities, but at the same time to be cognizant of those who are left behind and find a way to address them and create a new reality that embraces both. So that's the paradox of access. Now, what are some of the paradoxes of hyperconnectivity? So right now, we're excited about this amazing access we have. We have Zoom, we have all sorts of platforms who are continuing to educate, continuing to engage, continuing to do our work, teamwork, Microsoft Teams, whatnot, whatnot. What is the real thing that's happening behind? Lots of us have talked about, not even heard about, but talked about and engaged with aspects of the fourth industrial revolution. What is coming? What is here? Yeah, artificial intelligence, how much the machines are learning about humanity, how much big data is consuming your information, and they can use it for anything. Now this damn computer and this phone knows more about me than myself. By the end of this COVID-19, my gadgets will have mastered my schedule. They know. I wake up, they know who I speak to, they know all my conversations. Some of them are recorded. They know everything that I have set up because it's now happening in this cloud environment. It's a reality. Yeah. Maybe we would be missing out if we had this other reality. Yeah. Because even for your child, there's an option for your child to be here connected, accessing the latest content and material, learning from the best online resources, learning from all sorts of things that they've always wanted to learn using digital devices and having digital access. But also, what opportunities are your kids missing when they're using digital and doing other things on their computers. As you give them the iPad and the computers to do whatever, what are they missing out when it comes to creativity and innovation? What happens when a child draws? These are my kids. This is my daughter who loves to draw and does all my artwork for my company. And she's 5 years old. Give her a pencil and a paper and colorings. She loves to draw. What do we miss out when this child leaves the drawing and paper and pen and goes into the digital environment? What does playing with Lego do for the child? What does gardening, being out in the sun and gardening and doing all of those natural? How about exercise? Are we cognizant enough that to balance these two worlds such that we create a new option, an option that serves you as a family, that serves your children, that serves your organization, and that serves humanity? So I see COVID-19 as a great pause where, great, the big machine of capitalism has stopped in a way, stopped moving. We've stopped being on traffic and moving fast from one place to another and getting into debt and spending and doing all sorts of things. What a wonderful world to stop, to think deeply, to wake up to reality of what is really going on, be reflective, and choose the world that we want to create. Now, I spoke about the blessing of the curse of working from home, and I won't go into much detail, but there are these paradoxes that we have to ask ourselves around the quality of our presence, energy. My back was tight like crazy yesterday because I sat for about 12 hours in front of a computer. I had a facilitation gig with DBSA, and I also had this conference to plan. I was 100% digitized for 12 hours yesterday. It was crazy, probably 16 hours, not 12, because I slept at 2 a.m. But my kids, my family, my environment, there's a lot. We have to even think about what is work. Shouldn't we be redefining work and thinking quite deeply around stuff? So this is an opportunity, I think, to stop, think, pause, and do the right thing going forward after COVID-19. And today's conference, the intention is to help us with tools, help us with mindsets, help us with these professional people who have studied and have educated and have done lots of exploits in the world using creativity, and absorb some of their insights and use them to access this promise of 2020 that has been shattered by COVID-19. Maybe it doesn't have to be shattered because we have an opportunity to reframe, to reimagine, to apply creativity. Now, this is a partner of Alex Osborne, who I said has written this book, Applied Imagination. And his business partner, Sid Pans, they started the Creative Education Foundation, and their heart was just to teach deliberate creativity to the world. They have a deliberate creativity department at New York State University, and it's educated a whole lot of people in my network. Lots of people that you're going to meet this afternoon have also been through this institution. We are a community globally, all over the world, who have gone through this, some of the content of the institution, through even the conferences that they make on an annual basis called Creative Problem Solving Institute. And Sid Pan said, we can all create a future that we desire instead of merely accepting what life offers. And I believe this. I believe a lot of us were on a fast lane, but I don't know a fast lane to what. We're on a fast lane going somewhere, but where were we going? We're merely accepting whatever life was offering at us. This is a great pause that allows us to stop, think, apply imagination, reframe, and decide what our desired future should be and pivot in that direction. So I decided to give myself a creative freedom and reframe COVID-19 and say, what if it was an acronym that represented positivity, that would drive us to have positive energy and bring positive energy to us and use it to innovate, use it to be creative, use it to access opportunities. And I started to think, what would the first letter stand for? And obviously I was tempted to say creativity, because it's World Creativity Day and we're driving creativity today. But then I said it's about what is really happening in the business environment is we're seeing collision of industry, and that is as a result of creativity. And I will show you practically why I think creativity is a driver that's allowing these industries to collide, to reimagine themselves and to create new which is opportunities. So how might we be have a mindset of creating opportunities, accessing those opportunities, turning them into something through this COVID-19 situation, and then create a new vision for yourself, a vision that serves you, that serves humanity, that serves the future. And then, most importantly, I said the I, which then said it represents something that's very close to my heart, which is Ikigai. Ikigai is a place of finding a perfect intersection between what you're passionate about, what you're good at or skilled at, what the world needs and what the world is willing to pay for. If you find that dot in the middle, that's your Ikigai, your place of purpose and passion, and you'll never have to work again. Why don't we use this COVID-19 situation to find our Ikigai? And then I said, what is the shift, the 1% shift? So I thought about 19 and it's like 19, this is supposed to be an acronym. And I said, no, actually, COVID-19, we're not talking 19 anymore. What is the 1% shift that can give you an edge into 2020 that unleashes possibilities for you? So how do you make that 1% shift in your thinking is what I want us to focus on in the next 5 to 7 minutes before I hand over to the next speaker. And I want to believe that your shift in your perception creates a new reality. But how do you practicalize that, do you ask? So if we're saying C is about collision of industries, now look at what just happened with this very conference. I run the Alchemy Inspiration, and my company is not an eventing company, no. My company is about the human side of artificial intelligence. And we do creativity work, design thinking work, and so on. But in this COVID-19 situation, I was desperate to create an atmosphere where, for free, a community of people that I know, that I love, and I hope are sitting here and listening, can have access to this awesome, global, internationally acclaimed experts in the field of creativity, and have access to this information that I have had in the last 13 years on an annual basis. I get together with one of these communities and I absorb so much insights, yeah? And I wanted this moment to be that for a community of people here in Johannesburg, in Lesotho, in Africa, and the rest of the world. And now I thought, an event, yeah? So what happens when you take this company that is about being futuristic and finding the human side of AI and driving humanity, and you collide it with an industry or a company that does events. So a sales company does events. And then you collide it with a technology company. So find a technology company now that's going to support you and enable you to create this wonderful atmosphere. So now the three have collided and have created this new reality and this new way of being. And what we needed, most importantly, like I said, that C for collision of industry, the main driver I want to believe is creativity and co-creation. And a principle that I want to talk about when I say it's creativity and creative confidence is creativity. Confidence is built. It comes from somewhere. So don't just think you're going to get out of this conference and all of a sudden you'll be creative. No, we're here to build your confidence that you can be a creative being and access that part of you and unleash that creativity and have confidence that you too are creative, and go and build that confidence in others as well, because this is where it will all come from. Then I said the other principle that you need for you to embrace totally to create collision of industries is ambiguity tolerance. Ambiguity tolerance is the ability to say, I don't know, and start from a place of not knowing. Don't be an expert too quickly. Open up to new insights, open up to new knowledge, connect with other people, and listen more. So that's what we had to do between Basic Black, Technician, and Alchemy Inspiration, listening to each other because we were creating something that none of us is an expert in. And diversity, look at the diversity of those companies, look at the multidisciplinarity, different disciplines coming together and innovating. Your next innovation is not going to come from your own industry. And then we have accessed and have taken hold of this opportunity, but we now have to be very strategic around how we move this into a tangible future opportunity that will always combine these three companies and create a value both for our individual companies, but also for people, for this community that we have connected with today, for the facilitators who have given their time for free today. We have to crystallize it. It's our responsibility to do so and create a new vision. Yeah, and that vision has to involve deep reflections around where do we as a human race want to go? Ask ourselves deep personal questions around your personal vision in life and the future that you want to create, and access those answers and do something about those answers. And this is the I for Ikigai, which is that place of finding purpose, passion, and what the world needs and what the world is willing to pay for. So that sweet spot in the middle is Ikigai. You have to spend your time finding that place of Ikigai. It's a reflective process. You have to know yourself. You have to confront your own truths, face your own demons, and face that reality. Now, the D in COVID-19, I said, is divergence. How do we become divergent individuals? A divergent individual is open, it's not closed. It's open and is constantly seeking multiple perspectives, engaging with people that are different from you, listening, hearing, opening yourself up to life. And there are many principles that you can use. The speakers today will uncover so many more principles. It's just that I've run out of time and I don't want to spend too much time on that. So I say at the end, what is, how can COVID-19 be a driver of innovation for yourself? Amy, I apologize, just another 5 minutes, then I'll be done. How can you use it as a driver? We can choose a different tomorrow. We can choose a new way of life. We can choose new ways of doing family, communities, cities, societies, countries, and we can define ourselves without feeding this terrible beast of capitalism that's killing souls and causing a lot of depression. We can change the way we see, we think, and we live, and decide what type of world we want. We gotta manifest back our ability to be creative and then produce stuff, prototype them quickly. In this period, we have an opportunity to prototype quickly, launch things imperfect. They don't have to be perfect. Launch them in beta mode. Let the market define the rest of the product for you. And lastly, I want to say, have a yes and attitude. Today, you still have about 8 speakers all the way to 9 o'clock. They're going to bring all of the different perspectives. They're going to make you probably do things that push you out of your comfort zone. My invitation is engage, open up, say yes, and don't judge too quickly. And then lastly, I want to play a video for you.
A lot of people ask us why we're doing this. It comes down to why we do everything we do. It comes down to the very soul of Hot Wheels. It comes down to how you feel when you're a kid playing with Hot Wheels. If you ask a kid, is this possible? The kid's going to go, yeah, of course it's possible. Why should you stop dreaming just because you're not a kid anymore? If there's one thing we live by, it's don't be afraid of failing. It's only through failure that you learn. It's only through experimentation that you find out how far you can push it. It's okay to fail as long as you learn and you don't repeat the same mistake again. But then straight out of that, there's the attitude of picking yourself up and dusting yourself off. That's what Team Hot Wheels is. Team Hot Wheels is the embodiment of that. And it's not just about the limits of human endurance. It's about the limits of imagination. It's about the limits of what's possible. There came a point when Greg and Tanner had learned everything they could from the physics and the theory and the equations and the radio-controlled drone car and the training and the acrobatics in aeroplanes for G-testing. You know, that was all behind them, and they knew they just had to go for it. Greg Tracy was the first in the driver's seat, and that's when it gets exciting. That's when the magic happens. You put a guy in control who lives life at his limit, who isn't afraid of his limit and uses his imagination in everything he does, and that's when you get the magic. You put him in that car and you send him down that orange track, and he comes out the other side a hero. Hannah Faust was the second driver through, and he had to do exactly the same thing, but he's made of the same stuff. He has that imagination and that passion. Yes! These guys don't see an obstacle. They see a problem to be solved, and they put their fear to one side and they use their imagination to solve it. The structure in its own right was epic. We did it in such style and so huge and so massive. You know, no one's ever built anything like that before. There is no dream too big, you know. There is nothing that we can't do when we put our minds to it. That's why we're doing this. Double Dare Loop symbolizes that. It was about making a massive statement for our fans. We want to remind people, you really don't want to let go of your imagination. You don't want to let go of that spirit that you have when you're a 5 or 6 year old boy or a 5 or 6 year old girl. But you don't want to lose that dreaming ability, that imagination to see things that aren't there, to see the future, to design and dream and build stuff that's never existed before. Not only has it never existed before, but no one could ever perceive something quite so big and outrageous. There are no limits to your imagination. There is no limit to what's possible. You just got to dream big and go for it. That's what we're all about. That's what the Loop was about. That's what Team Hot Wheels is about.
I hope you got the same inspiration that I received from watching that clip. And if you have time tonight, please go watch it again. And they speak about the double dare loop. And I say, use COVID-19 to give you that double dare loop, not to shrink back into fear. Please don't. Use it to accelerate your innovation, to redefine your company, to position yourself right in the front, to position your life, and dare to dream, dare to define your passion, find a place where it meets your purpose, find a place where it meets what the world is needing right now, and deliver yourselves from systems that don't serve you. Define your double dare loop, prototype, try it out. If you fail, it's still okay. You can always dream again. And my invitation is that go and do it. Do it. As the Alchemy Inspiration, Basic Black, Technician Experts, we have gotten together and we have said we can do it. And someone has sneaked into my conversation because it's about time that I come to an end and introduce the next speaker. I hope you found my little moment of inspirational, and you can reframe COVID-19. And my son is here to facilitate with me because he has been so deprived of mommy's presence. Thank you.